Hello and welcome to the collapse experiment. I've got the wall back, which means our chicks were picked up. They found new homes, and everything in the house is back to normal. No chirping in the background, just slurping. No chirping. Oh yeah. So yesterday I did a video on the Proud Guys. I don't know. There's like 6 views on this video, and the keepers of oaths, if you will. Which means it tells me people are probably not notified due to the title of the video, but the people who did watch it, one of the comments I got was, "Why are you supporting fascists?" I found that question to be very amusing, so I replied with, "Who are the fascists?" Because in my mind, it made it sound like I was supporting Joe Biden. Now, why would I say that? Well, we're going to look at the definition of fascism and see who exactly that applies to, because our mainstream media is really big at defining, redefining, placing certain phrases and words on individuals and or groups that they don't apply to. It just sounds good. Well, if we just put this in the title of the article, everybody will think that they're the fascist, when really it's us. No, really. So let's see what the dictionary has to say, because as we know, the left loves to redefine everything in their favor. So, fascism, political ideology, a mass political movement that emphasizes extreme nationalism, militarism, and the supremacy of both the nation and the single powerful leader over the individual citizen. There's a key phrase there. The individual citizen, the powerful leader over the individual. That contradicts the Constitution, and we'll get into this in a little bit. Moving on, we also have what does fascism mean in simple terms? Let's keep it simple, right? KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. A mass political movement that emphasizes the extreme nationalism, militarism, and supremacy of both the nation and single powerful leader over the individual. Same thing. But then we have, is fascism, what is fascism versus socialism? Slightly different here. Fascism is a system where a single individual reigns supreme. The fascist dictator controls the conduct of people, society, and industries. There's a very big difference between what the Democratic Party wants to do when they're in power and what the Republicans like to do when they're in power, although some people say that they're both the same thing. But when it comes to economics and ideology and society and the role that government should play, they are actually pretty different. It's just when it comes to the national or international level, they both seem to have the same policies, which is start some shit overseas and make some money and have our young men go over and die for profit. As for socialism, it is a political ideology where public welfare comes first, which never fucking works when they try this shit. All the means of production are owned by the government or the public. So I would argue what we currently have in office is a combination of fascism and socialism, because it's very obvious when it comes to social media, where it's not owned by government. When they have a backdoor channel and they're handing checks off to certain industries saying, delete these accounts and we'll pay you a little bit extra. It's very obvious at that point that the government financially owns that industry. So we have the social media companies that are pretty much owned by the government. The government comes to them and says, "You're going to do this." And they're like, "Yes, sir." Oh, we get a check. Awesome. So, yeah, that's socialism. As for the fascism, well, let's see here. We had an election in 2020. The person who won uh, basically stated that we were not allowed to question that. It's almost like the sole individual had all the power. That's kind of weird for a democracy, don't you think? Let's see here. Controls the conduct of people. If you don't agree with us, we'll arrest you. That's fascist. Society. You will allow us to change the gender of your child. You do not own your child. The state does. Well, that's fascism. And industries. You will turn green or we'll fucking close down your industry. Fascism. We have a fascist government in power right now. And no, I don't support them. As for the people who I think were labeled as fascists yesterday, let's see here. The militias. Hopefully YouTube didn't pick that up. Yeah, those groups. The ones who peacefully assemble, protected by the First Amendment, own firearms, protected by the Second Amendment, and protest, also covered by the First Amendment. These people believe in individual rights, which is contrary to fascism because the individual's rights do not supersede the authority of the leader, or as we know him, Joe Biden. Okay, the individual is above our leadership, according to these groups, right? So your individual freedom, as long as it's not illegal and doesn't harm anyone else, then they'd rather have that than whatever the top-down bullshit is. Okay, so they're all for your individual freedom. That's not fascism. The idea that they just want to be left alone. Don't tread on me. Again, individual rights. You might also call it libertarianism. Quite the opposite of fascism. These people are not fascist. And when they get pissed off because the government is not listening to them when it comes to grievances, also protected by the First Amendment, um, they go out and they protest. But unlike the other assholes that we saw in 2020 who went out and burned down businesses, fucking killed people, took over autonomous zones, which for some reason the local and federal governments didn't want to seem to do anything about, which meant they were basically stealing property and creating a communist state within the United States. That was okay. No one's been arrested for that. No one. Look into Seattle. No one has been arrested for the crimes that happened during Chaz, Chop a Dick, whatever it is that you want to call this stupid place that they decided they're going to create out of nothing. Nothing has happened there because that fit the politics of this new fascist regime that came into power. As long as you agree with me, I don't give a fuck what you do because it's more power on my side. That is the thinking of the Democratic Party under Joe Biden, a fascist. Joe Biden is a fascist. Let's not mix words here. Let's not try to redefine shit. We just saw what the definition of a fascist is. And it's not the people who have been arrested over J6. Those are the people who believe in the rights of the individual. They believe in the Second Amendment. Fascists do not like the Second Amendment. They want to have all the guns. They want to control all the people who have all the guns. That's a fascist. So when you have the ATF going knocking on people's doors saying, yeah, we saw that you might have ordered one of these triggers. And well, as you know, the ATF, who's allowed to write their own fucking laws for some reason, contrary to what the Constitution says, and the only lawmaking while voting body that we're supposed to have is Congress, they bypass that. We redefined it. How about you redefine my dick? All right. Because you don't have that power. You can't redefine something. Well, this trigger is now a machine gun. The trigger is a machine gun. Can you explain to me how this little part that you've all of a sudden redefined hits the primer, ejects the bullet, aims it, does all the things an actual machine gun does? How does this little part do that? Because that's what you're concerned about. I don't know. I don't get it. I think it's horribly fucking stupid. This is why I don't play around with the black rifles. I don't. I don't like the coffee. The coffee sucks. Let's be honest here. Uh, Black Rifle coffee is a gimmick. It's a horrible gimmick. They're actually not that great of people. They make some funny videos on YouTube. I'll admit that. Their coffee sucks. So I don't play around with black rifles. I don't. I think they're overhyped. The only reason a lot of people own them is because the government says that they really shouldn't. There's a lot better weapons out there. The AR platform sucks. I'm just going to put it out there. Not an expert. It's totally my opinion. But guess what? I'm not a fascist. I'm not a gun fascist. Oh, the AR-15 is the supreme weapon of warfare. Like, what the hell? If you don't agree with that, dude, everybody's got their own opinion. Some people like the AK. Some people like this. Some people like that. I don't really give a shit. I think people should just be able to like whatever the hell they like. It's kind of a libertarian idea. That's really anti-fascist. Oh, and the other trick that they like to play is how about we just label ourselves the opposite of what we really are? That's another trick that these people like to play. We'll call ourselves anti-fascist, Antifa, but we'll be fascist. It's awesome. It's like right in front of you. We're the elephant in the room. So yeah, this is just my rant for today, I guess, because I have no idea what this person was talking about. It's kind of sad. They were my 200th subscriber on Spotify a week or two ago. And then I got that question, comment. Um, and I could be completely wrong as to what they were saying. But let's just be honest here. Sarcasm does not transfer well at all on the internet. You can make a sarcastic remark on Twitter and it gets blown out of proportion. I've seen families fall apart because somebody made a sarcastic joke on Facebook. Sarcasm does not work on the internet. It also doesn't exist in the Japanese language, but that's a whole nother story. So who knows? They could be sarcastic. Could have just been a funny haha joke on me covering the two groups that were just found guilty of crimes that they didn't commit. It's almost like the A-team all over again. I hope they break out and they actually go around in a big black van helping people, because that'd be fucking awesome. It'd be better than what the federal government does right now. Okay, so yeah, that's about what I have today. Um oh, here's the Wikipedia. Let's look at the different definitions of what we have here for fascism. Fascism is a far right. Are you sure? Far right authoritarian, ultra nationalistic political ideology and movement, characterized by a dictatorial leader, centralized autocracy. Let's see here. Militarism. Well, Ukraine and Taiwan. That kind of fits. Forcible suppression of opposition. Forcible suppression of opposition. This is from Wikipedia. What do we see happening with the J6 people who are opposing the current leader in power? forcible suppression of opposition. They're being put in prison for decades for no fucking reason, other than they don't agree Joe Biden should be in power. Belief in a national social hierarchy. Yeah, they seem to believe that minorities have a higher social hierarchy than anybody else for some reason, especially what whites, Asians. It's okay for black people to beat on Asians, but stop Asian hate. It's weird. Like you're suppressing black people for wanting to beat up on Asians. I don't understand. Like their philosophy sucks. They haven't even figured it out yet. Subordination of individual interest for the perceived good of the nation and race. Subordination of individual interest that contradicts the Constitution that we have, because the Constitution is about individual rights as opposed to, say, what a monarchy would want. The good of the king. Everybody's supposed to be submissive towards the king. Well, the founding fathers kind of said, F that. We are for the rights of the individual. And that is something that's being taken away right now. And strong regimentation of society and the economy. And we're definitely seeing that now. You will go green or you'll be in the red. So, yeah, we're seeing a lot of this here. Fascism rose into prominence in the early 20th century Europe. First fascist movements emerged in Italy. Okay, well, Italy's got, what does it have going for it? Pizza, some decent wines. When it comes to, I don't know, perhaps Rome was kind of, sort of, for its time. I don't know. I'm sure they thought that they were the top dog, and they were for a while. But yeah. And here's the weird thing. So, if fascism is a far right authoritarian ultranationalist, if it's a far right ideology, why is it they were friends with the far left socialists in Germany? That's something I would like explained to me at some point, because if this is a far right ideology, why were they siding with Hitler, who is a socialist, which is a left ideology? Why weren't they siding with, I don't know, the Russians? So yeah, I'd like to know how fascism became a far right ideology, while it was being supported by definitely the far left at the time. So yeah, a lot of questions, and of course, this is from Wikipedia. None of the other definitions said anything about being far right. This is Wikipedia. This is obviously somebody that probably, let's see here. Where did they get this from? Well, I'm not seeing anything about far right when it comes to this citation. So even the citation is kind of a freaking joke. Actually, the citation, I'm guessing, is probably wrong, because there is nothing in these that state, all it says is far right. So let's go to the first citation here. Turner, 1975, goal of radical and authoritarian nationalism, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Nothing in here, nothing in this citation says that this is a far right ideology, which means Wikipedia is not doing its job at all. This is purely whoever, the idea of somebody. The funny thing is, they can add a citation to justify why they added something to this, but obviously Wikipedia is not checking all of these. And I'm just going to say this is really more of an excuse as to why they can put that in there. I don't think that should be in there. I don't think it should be in there at all, honestly. So yeah, fascism. I don't think this is a far right ideology. They definitely did not side with far right during World War II. Um, and I'm going to guess that this was probably a very liberal idea at the time. I mean, look at who they were siding with during the war. So, um, yeah, I think Wikipedia is kind of full of shit on this one. So, anyways, that's probably the end of my rant for today. Yeah, fascists. Who are the fascists? Well, it's not the people that are being sent to prison right now. So, definitely doesn't fit the definition. You want to see who the fascists are? Look at whoever is coming out to the White House briefing room, who's munching on an ice cream cone, who's trying to force their ideology on the rest of society and while undermining the rights of the individual. That's who the fascists are. Let's stick with the definitions. Let's stop labeling things inappropriately on news articles and different news outlets. Let's be honest as to who the fascists are here. And yeah, that's about it for me today. Keep on typing.